Hi, and welcome to my channel where I make dishes inspired by some of my favorite video game characters. Today's dish is inspired by Kokichioma from Danganronpa V3. Oh, what a little snake Kokichi is, but I love him for it. Whether you like or hate them, you can't deny that the troublemaking characters of Danganronpa bring a lot of excitement and tension to the games, like Byakuya, Nagito, and Kokichi. While playing V3, I remember the moment I thought, oh, he's the new Nagito, isn't he? And I was afraid he was just going to be exactly like Nagito. But I was pleasantly surprised when he had his own new personality traits and delusions. Kokichi made me laugh with some of the insults he had for the other students like Miyu, and he simultaneously terrified me for the awful things he would do to other characters like Gonta. He constantly kept me on my toes for what crazy thing he was going to do next, and his participation in all trials, specifically Trial 5, brought so much intrigue to each case. Also, learning more about his ultimate talent towards the end of the game was really eye-opening and made me respect him so much more. Based off of Kokichi's personality, I knew I wanted to make something that seemed simple at first glance, since Kokichi is quite childish on the surface, claiming that he's the ultimate supreme leader. As we learn, there's a lot more complexity under the surface, so I wanted to make something that had a little more depth of flavor to it. I figured that a chocolate cake fit the bill well, since it's something we see as a simple dessert that children love, but can be appreciated by people of all ages, especially depending on the ingredients used inside. Kokichi's color scheme with white, black, and purple made me think I needed to add something a little bit colorful to the cake. It can be a little bit tricky to find purple foods, but I think that blackberries get pretty close, and their delicious tartness fits Kokichi's mischievous ways well. Therefore, we are making a blackberry chocolate cake for Kokichi that might get him to call it a yum dumpster. Here's what you'll need to make your own. For the chocolate cake itself, you'll need cake flour, granulated sugar, baking soda, salt, unsweetened chocolate, unsweetened cocoa powder, hot coffee, sour cream, 1 large egg, vanilla extract, and powdered sugar for dusting. For the blackberry sauce, you'll need fresh blackberries, granulated sugar, lemon juice, cornstarch, and some water. We'll start the process by making the cake batter. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit and then grab a 9-inch cake pan. Butter the bottom of the cake pan, then add a circle of parchment paper, and then butter the top of the parchment paper. Sprinkle the pan with some cake flour and then shake out any of the excess flour, then set the pan aside. In a large bowl, you'll add 1 1/4 cup of cake flour, 1 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, a half teaspoon of baking soda, and a half teaspoon of salt. Whisk these dry ingredients together until they are generally combined. You'll then grab 4 ounces of unsweetened baking chocolate. Finely chop the chocolate so that it is in small pieces or little shavings, and then return back to your large bowl. Add the chocolate to the bowl as well as a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. Whisk everything again and then grab 1 cup of hot coffee. Feel free to use any kind of coffee that you like and then pour it into the bowl, whisking everything until smooth. You'll then grab 1 large egg and beat it in a small bowl or cup. Again, return to the large bowl and add in 2/3 cup of sour cream, your beaten egg, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Whisk again until everything is well combined, but make sure not to overmix the batter. We can then pour the cake batter into our prepared cake pan and use a rubber spatula to make sure that we get all the goods. You'll then slide the cake into the oven to bake for about 40 to 45 minutes until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out with a few moist crumbs and the center of the cake bounces back to the touch. You'll then take the cake out of the oven and let it cool completely within its pan on a cooling rack. Now while the cake is baking, we'll start making our blackberry sauce. We'll grab a medium saucepan and add in 2 cups of washed blackberries. You'll also add in a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar and start heating the pan on medium heat. Stir the berries and sugar together and continue stirring pretty frequently as the berries heat. You'll wait for the sugar to start dissolving, which should take around 2 to 3 minutes. As the berries are heating, you'll grab a small bowl and add in 1 1/2 teaspoons of lemon juice, 1.5 teaspoons of cornstarch, and a half tablespoon of water, and mix everything together so it's well combined. Once the sugar has dissolved from the saucepan, add in your cornstarch mixture and stir, allowing the berries to come to a boil and thicken for a few more minutes. Heat the sauce until it's your desired consistency and is thicker but not too thick to drizzle. Once you're satisfied, remove it from the heat and let it cool until the cake is done baking and cooling. Once your cake has finished cooling to room temperature, you can remove it from the pan and decorate it with some powdered sugar. As you eat the slices of cake, drizzle your blackberry sauce. Don't pour it all on top right away unless you plan to eat it or serve it all at once, because you don't want your cake to get too soggy. With that, you're ready to enjoy. Talk about Danganronpa decadence. This chocolate cake is so ooey gooey, rich and delicious. You get the taste of the tasty chocolate and the background hint of coffee, which makes it so much more than just a standard slice of cake. The powdered sugar on top adds a little bit of light sweetness to ease up the rich cake, and the blackberry sauce comes in to save the day with some contrasting tartness and moisture. I loved every drop of this sauce in each bite of cake, and I found myself licking my plate and fork to make sure that none of it went to waste. All in all, this is such a flavorful and fun experience to make and eat, and would be sure to impress anyone you'd serve it to. There's no doubt in my mind that Kokichi would be a horrible cook and baker. He's definitely the kind of person, though, who would think that they're actually really good at it when they're not. And I also see him as the kind of person to play food tricks on his friends, like disguising a sponge in chocolate to look like a brownie. They'd take a bite of disgust and Kokichi would say, "It's a lie!" I picture Kokichi enjoying this exact cake at school when he was younger, by pouring blackberry juice on top of the cafeteria's cake and loving the outcome. He now has a sweet spot and sweet tooth for anyone who brings him this flavor combination of chocolate and blackberry. He might even constantly annoy Shuichi, Maki, and Kaito to make some for him to no avail, but I'm sure he could talk Gonta into it. The recipe card is in the video description if you'd like a more quick and concise version to give it a try. Like if you want a bite, subscribe for more geeky treats, and comment what foods Kokichi reminds you of. Thanks for following along.